Tell us a little bit more about your childhood. Whitey did tell me that you were one of the best athletes he'd ever been around. So I thought you'd be glad to hear that.
Yeah, well, you know, we didn't. Nobody had iPhones and televisions, so you had to get out and play, and so we did play, and this led me into my life's work, which was athletics. I matriculated to the University of South Carolina in 1951. Played 3 sports, played freshman baseball, varsity baseball, freshman football, and basketball. And after 2 years, I'm saying, you know, they might draft me. So this was 1952, 52.
Yeah, Korea was going on.
Yeah. So I wanted to join the service, and so I picked out the worst one. The Marine Corps, and as a matter of fact, Friday the 19th is going to be my 63rd anniversary of setting foot on the hallowed ground of Paris Island.
Wow.
And I stayed there 2 years, and then my friend Bully and I got hooked up at Newberry College, and we played at Newberry College for 3 years, and I played some baseball and football at Newberry College, and finished there in 1958. So all you youngsters out there, if there aren't any youngsters out there, it took. I started college in 1951 and finished in 1958. So that's 7 years.
That's not bad.
And still had a pretty good career.
Yeah. Now, so I was thinking you probably overlapped with Bill Brissy some at Newberry, but you must not have been there any time when he was there then.
No, Bill had set all the records, and there was no need for anybody to try to come close to challenging those, yeah.
Mm-hmm. I got you. All right, so after you graduated from Newberry, of course, your coach at Newberry was Harvey Kirkland.
Harvey Kirkland, excellent coach, taskmaster. A caveat here, Coach Kirkland left Somerville in like 1952, which is when John McKissick took over. And John McKissick coached there until last year,
yeah,
which makes him the winningest coach at any level of football in the entire universe.
Right, and probably always will be.
Yes, nobody will ever approach that record.
Yeah, I wouldn't think. And so after you graduated from Newberry College, what'd you do after that?
I got my first coaching job at Bennettsville down in South Carolina, which is not far from my hometown. Bennettsville High School is now Marlboro County High. I taught 5 classes in 2 years, 5 different preparations: U.S. history, world history, civics, geography, and United States history.
Mm-hmm.
And coached football, basketball, and baseball. I literally would change classes and not know what class we were doing it, but I was paid so handsomely for it.
What was your start salary?
$3,900 a year.
$3,900 when you started
and
out.
my wife mate, the beautiful George Ducworth, Fraser, was making $2,600.
And she was there too?
She was at Cloud. She had in her class the illustrious Joe Swan, who is on the Clemson Board of Trustees and has made a name for himself at Clemson. And we stayed there 2 years, two wonderful
that was what years?
That was from 1958 and the season of 58 and 59.
I got you. Okay. And so after Bennettsville, where'd you go?
Went to Aiken, got to Aiken, and I was an assistant. I went there with Bob Bell. We followed a very well-known Clemson personality at Aiken. Tom Blackcap Barton and Bill Yarborough.
Mm-hmm.
They were the head of the Aiken athletic department.
They were brothers-in-law, weren't they?
Brothers-in-laws, and very few people. And before them, it was Betty Herlong, who is a well-known, very successful high school coach. And Bob Bell and Bob came from an assistant at Florence. I was an assistant at Bennettsville. He became head coach, and I was an assistant. After 2 years, Bob applied for and got the head coaching job at Spartanburg, which was a premier job, one of the top jobs in the South. He says, Jim, if I get that job, will you go with me? I said, sure, Bob. If I don't get this job. Of course, I got the Aiken job.
Yeah.
Lucky enough and happy enough, and was head coach at Aiken until 1967, and had some good years and some. When I first took over, George, the trend now is to separate ADs and football coaches,
Right.
and basketball coaches, and that's a good thing. But my first year at Aiken High School, and we were 3A, which was the highest classification, and we played the best people around Sumter and North Augusta and Richmond Academy and Florence, and didn't get into upper state too much. And I was the head basketball coach and the head football coach and the athletic director, and taught 4 classes.
And how much did you make there?
I never was driven by money. I don't remember. I assume it's 55 million.
Yeah, something like that. All right, and oh yeah, you got to play for one of the great coaches around too at Florence. You played for Roten Shetley, didn't you?
Roten Ripper Shetley, very well known coach. He played at Furman in the 30s when Furman played Georgia. And
He and Banks McFadden were
right.
played together. I mean, played against each other.
And played professional football for the Brooklyn Dodgers. I'm correct. It was the Brooklyn Dodgers.
It was the Brooklyn Dodgers, yeah.
Right.
Then he became a lawyer after that.
He did.
That's how I got to know him.
He was the last person to take the bar exam without going to law school.
Uh-huh.
And from then on, y'all started making people go to law school before they could.
That's because of Roten Shetley, I
All
guess.
because of Roten Shetley.
All right, so anyway, so you left Aiken and came to Anderson. How did that come about that you came to Anderson?
Well, I was sensing some problems. We were doing well. We loved Aiken. I was sensing some problems with the administration, which I felt we had to do certain things to be competitive and where we wanted to be, and I didn't want to clash. And Joe Hazel was a friend of mine. He was assistant principal. He was head coach, and had resigned the head job at Hanna to be assistant principal. And like 3 people had already interviewed and had turned the Hanna job down. And I applied, and Dr. Royster and Hiram Sandin and Joe brought me over here, and Wayne Jones and I left Aiken and came to Anderson, and I told Joyce and my 2 kids, Amy and Chuck, it's going to be a temporary move. We liked it so much we're still here after 48 years.
Still temporary.
and it certainly wasn't the salary that brought me in.
Yeah.
Because it was pretty much a lateral move, and I was paid the handsome sum of doing the 4 classes, and I'm not demeaning it, but I was paid $100 a month to coach the football team and $150 a month to be the AD. $1,200 a year for AD football, $1,800 a year for AD. And so I was only making like $3,000 more.
Oh.
But I said, man, what a great job. I said, what do you make? What you going to do with all this? I would tell the officials, George, I said, you guys, I was told to do a good job tonight. I said, because y'all are making like $26.50 each one of you for your work tonight.
Yeah.
I'm making $25. You're making more than me. I'm going to do a good job, so I hope you do too.
Yeah.
And that was true.
Yeah.
That was true. They were making more.
That's amazing. So your first year at Hanna was what? First football season?
1968.
68. All right, and so you've had some great years at Hanna, didn't you? I mean, you had and coached a lot of really outstanding athletes at Hanna High School.
Oh yeah, just we did just had a fine time. You know, we were competitive every year. Never won a state championship, folks, but we should have won 4.
Yeah.
But it takes so many intrinsic things to come together. You know, you got to get a good call here, you got to get every call, you got to get every bounce. And we had the players.
Oh yeah,
we had the coaching and the right bounce. And we in the 17 years I was here, we probably should have won 3 or 4.
Yeah.
There's some guys looking at this that, hey, you should have won more than that, coach.
You know, you just barely got missed getting to coach me. You know, I 66 was my last year. So, but you did get to coach 2 of my brothers.
I had 2 of your brothers, you know, C.H. and Tommy, and the families like old Ed Ducworth and Miss Ducworth that sends 4 kids to. We had several. We had the Ducworths and the Sods and the Thicks and the Pickens, Drew Pickens. There's a bunch of them, and I've left a couple out. I mean, you can make a living off one family. You get a couple of families, and they send 3 or 4 kids out. So someone must have done a good job with you and George, Ronnie.
Ronnie, yeah.
Or Mr. Ed with the sort of C.H. and Tommy.
Yeah, those were good days. But talk a little bit about some of your memorable games. I know I went to see a state championship game when I was in law school, and you played Spring Valley, I believe it was, down there. What year was that?
That would have been 1974, and we were not running the clock out because it was like 140, 145, maybe 150 left on the clock. But we were running safe dive plays that we weren't struggling for extra yardage. We just wanted to get some yardage and let that clock run. And we coughed it up on about depth 45 and had the ball falling on the ground, and we smothered it. They would have never scored. But it took one of those bounces, which I'm saying you got to get right into one of their guys' arms, and he took up. But that's not what lost the game. What lost the game was a flaw in the playoff system, George. We had to take a trip to Spartanburg. We had to go to Augusta, Georgia to play North Augusta, and then we had to go to Columbia, South Carolina to play Spring Valley on successive weekend. I mean, there's no way playing playoff football that you should be asked to go take 3 straight road games, which are longer than normal, longer than your people are. You're going to have the effort and you're going to have everything else, but you're never going to be able to get that sharpness you're going to have being on the road 3 times in a row.
All right, so you coached, when was your last year coaching?
1984. 1984, which ended up 17 years here. And I had not won that elusive state championship, but I'd coached in 2 Shrine Bowls. I'd coached my son, which is a unusual thing. It's got to work, especially if your son plays quarterback. And I coached in 2 All-Star games and 4-0. I wish I was successful at Hanna and at Aiken as I was in All-Star games, because they didn't get beat in the All-Star game, but very, very good. And as much as that, George, as much as the enjoyment and the good feelings I get from coaching football, which are many, and being AD, which are many, and I athletic the program was judged one of the best. We'd win like the President's Trophy, a tie, be in the top 5 almost every year. Was teaching my U.S. history class. We really got into it, and we really had a good time, and I have a lot of students. I have more students come up and say, "Hey, y'all, I enjoyed that history class. I said, well, we had a good time.
How'd you decide to retire when you retired?
Well,
You were still young, weren't you?
I was 53. I was spinning my wheels. I was having some more issues with what we could do with the program, and wasn't getting a lot of cooperation. I said, let somebody else try it, and the siren call of being a financial planner and making a lot of money, because I had knocked the doors off the Fortune 500 coaching here, and so I was going to try something else, and so I probably got out too early. What school should do is let a coach, when he gets kind of at the end of his rope, give him a couple of months, a couple of weeks off, and let him take a kind of sabbatical. So, and that's me. We could have continued winning 8 or 9 games a year, but I don't like to use the word burn out, because I'm long in the tooth now. I don't feel near being burned out.
Yeah.
That was not a good term, but I guess if you could characterize it, was from coaching.
Yeah. All right, well, I tell you what, I've really got to know you a lot better since you got through coaching, and mainly through the Touchdown Club here. Of course, we're getting ready to start our 35th year of the Anderson Area Touchdown Club here, and you're very much involved in it, and I am too. And you got involved in it when it first started, I guess, as the coach, and then you've been doing the Players of the Week and whatnot for how many years now?
I'm starting 23 years. John Moore, our esteemed former city manager, turned those reins over to me, and I've been doing it ever since, and I really loved it.
So, but after you got through coaching, you became a TV star too.
Yeah,
Talk about that a little bit.
I was doing.
That's what you're doing right now. Is being a TV star.
I was doing. They called it financial planning, but I was selling insurance for people like Equitable and Mass Mutual and Blue Cross, and wasn't that successful, because I didn't want to call my friends and put a hard sell on it. But that's not a way to make money in that business. But I did okay, and I'm happy with my decision and all. But it was the Cable 8 and Art Jones did local origination, and Ken Allison, who was a play-by-play guy at Anderson for years and years and years, says I'm going to do a play-by-play help. It's going to be replayed back on TV on Saturday and Monday. Saturday morning and Monday afternoon. I said, yeah, I'd love to do that. So for the next 17 years, as a matter of fact, I did that the same number of years I coached at Hanna for 17 years. And we would do a Hanna West Side of BHP and McDuffie game, and sometimes branch out and go out of town, but it would be most in-town games, and it would be replayed back, and had a great time doing that.
Yeah, I'm sure you did. And now with the Touchdown Club, you do that. You'll start that next week, next Friday, the 26th. That's our first game, and the first meeting. But anyway, I want to encourage anybody watching out there to become members of the Touchdown Club. It's one of the most fun things you can do during the football season.
We have a good time.
It's a great way to get your football weekend started off at lunchtime on Fridays at the Anderson County Library. So, and then I just learned in the last few months that not only were you were an outstanding athlete, you were an outstanding coach, you were an outstanding TV personality, outstanding stand-up comic, but you're also an author, and you're a writer, and you've been writing for the Electric City News since last spring. And I got a copy here where you talk the latest. It's not your latest one, I understand. You got one after this and got another one getting ready to come out. But this one is reflecting on the early years of desegregation. You got a picture of Jim Ed Rice and Buck Thompson in there. And Jim Ed Rice, he was an interesting story. He played football at Hanna and baseball and I don't know what all else for 1 year, his
1
senior
year.
year, and heard all kind of stories about how he ended up at Hanna.
Yeah.
You want to talk about that any? Or is that something?
Yeah, that's kind of sad because people felt that, as I said in that article, we had to have a 72-28 racial makeup, and the dividing line was Murray Avenue, and you had to have that 72-28 in every school. And also, we're getting ready to start school at Hanna, and we don't have that 72-28 ratio. And so out at the district office, they got this real big map with little different colored pins on it. And so they always gerrymandering them around and moving them around. And so they determined out there, and I had nothing to do with it, that we need a couple of more African American students at TL Hanna. And so they came down Murray Avenue and took a right on Reed Street because there was an African American family there. And in one of those houses happened to be Ed Rice, as we call him, Jim Ed Rice, who was an excellent athlete, more of a baseball than basketball and than football. And we got him like 8 days before the season started and opened with Pinky Bear, the legendary coach from Greenwood, played at Old McCant Stadium. And Ed was a good enough athlete that he started both sides of the ball, wide receiver at offense, free safety on defense, and returned kicks. And he did an excellent job for us. And the success that I had in that article of our football team that year, and there was a plethora of great players.
Listen to that word.
Of good players on that, abundant.
Yeah.
A whole lot.
Yeah.
On that team. But the success of that team, and we lost twice. Once was in the Upper State Championship to Eau Claire, and the impetus and the success of the football team and the athletic program helped us to segue into integration, and it was very successful.
Yeah.
At Hanna, and it was pandemonium at a lot of places, but I think it went pretty good around here.
Yeah, it seemed to, and that having that great football season that helped a lot. I would think it sure did. I know that first year that Jim Ed Rice was there, you had to have a black student body president and a white student body president, and Jim Ed was the black student body president. My brother Tommy was the white student body president.
You're exactly right.
That's the only year you had to do that, I think.
And interestingly enough, I'll probably do an article on it. I was an assistant coach at the Shrine Bowl. That was 1970. We only had 3 coaches. We had the great Willie Marner, the great Buddy Sasson, and me, Shrine Bowl, and I took 2 players. I took Jim Ed Rice and Buck Thompson, who had a stellar career at South Carolina, became a physician, is still practicing medicine in Knoxville. Among his patients are people like Philip Fulmer, and this was the first year the Shrine Bowl was integrated.
Oh yeah.
And Buck and Ed and myself were a part of it. And an interesting thing on that, we rode up together in my '64 Dodge, and we talked about rooming and all. And when we got up there, the Shriners, who a great organization, millions and millions of dollars to the crippled children, but they had not accepted this desegregation yet. They were not ready for it. And so Ed and Jim wanted to, Ed and Buck wanted to room together. No. So we would say, look, these guys are friends. We rode up together. We talked about, Coach, this is where we're going to do it now. But the next year, it was completely.
Okay.
But that was pretty.
Well, that's right. Well, you've had a lot of honors and awards since you've retired. You're in the Hanna Hall of Fame now. You've got the football field at Hanna named after you in the South Carolina Coaches Hall of Fame. And
Whitey Jordan and I in the Florence
is that right?
Athletic Hall of Fame, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And Roten Shetley.
And Roten Shetley too. So you've had quite a career, and we're certainly glad that you made that decision to come to Anderson to coach here at TL Hanna High School and stay here in Anderson temporarily for 48 years.
Well, thank you, George, and I'm happy to be here. Hope to be here many more years.
All right, sir.